Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Kelsey Bixler, and I am the Director of Growth Marketing here at Touchplanner. And today we are going to be covering the topic, how trades can use construction planning software to improve crew planning. Before we begin, and while I give everybody a minute to hop on, I do want to let you all know that we're going to be talking about Touchplanner today, but we're not going to be showing the tool. So if that's something that you're interested in, we've got a couple options for you. So one is the demo on demand, which is a video walkthrough of Touchplanner. We also have a monthly live demo, which is held on a monthly basis. The one for this month is coming up on June 24th, so this coming Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, so be sure to check that out. And then finally, if you're interested in actually getting your hands on the tool, we also have a free trial available as well. So I will drop links to those in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen, so be sure to check those out after the webinar. On the agenda today, we'll do some brief introductions. We'll then get a brief overview of the 5 main values that specialty contractors are seeing when using Touchplanner. We'll then get into our panel discussion with our specialty contractor users. And then finally, we've got a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to drop those in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will be getting those at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to our host today, Matt DeKoeyer. Matt, I will let you take it from here. Oh, Matt, looks like you're muted.
All about adaptability here at Touchplanner.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. Thank you everyone for jumping on in here today. Again, my name is Matt DeKoeyer, sales team lead over here at Touchplanner, and really excited to take everyone through how best you can use Touchplanner in terms of planning, replanning, collaboration, crew size planning, specifically when it comes to specialty contractors. We have a really good group of panelists today who are currently using Touchplanner, out there on their construction projects, and they're having a lot of resounding success. And really, today is all about learning from them, kind of their firsthand experience around how they've used Touchplanner in the past. Next slide, please, Kelsey. Sweet. And so, while we have been really going through looking at how specialty contractors can use our program, we really came up with 5 main reasons to consider Touchplanner, specifically from the specialty contractor standpoint. Over the years, a lot of specialty contractors have come to us through being introduced through general contractors, right? And really in speaking to them and understanding how they could use Touchplanner, there's really breaks down these 5 main points of how they could use Touchplanner. And those are, plan and manage their crew size, plan and tweak on the fly, manage daily scope and workforce, collaborate and communicate in real time, and really have access to the best customer service. Do a little bit of plug on our website too, if you want to understand these more in depth, or go through a demo of this more in depth with one of our team members. We actually have that publicly available right on our website now, specifically for specialty contractors. And really to dive right into where we came up with these, ideas and reasons why a specialty contractor would want to use Touchplanner for their own internal planning. We have a bunch of panelists on with us today. So really fortunate to have with us today Chase Resendiz from the demo company, Kyle Brandenhorst and Ben Brandenhorst from Quality Plus Services. And then also throughout the discussion today, we're gonna have Jerry Smith be joining us and Eldon Perry as well. So thank you all for joining on in here. Sweet. And Ben and Kyle, if you guys wanna pop open, we'll be good to go. All right. Perfect. Well, appreciate everyone jumping on in. Really to get right into it, Chase, I believe currently on the panelists we have right now, you have been using Touchplanner the longest, and I also think you have a really good, unique perspective on how you actually came to us. So would love, for you maybe introduce yourself to the audience a bit, kind of tell everyone what you do at the demo company, and then also love to hear kind of, what brought you to Touchplanner in the first place, and what was your process before Touchplanner that helped you out there?
Yeah, so my name's Chase, and I work for the demo company here in Dallas, Texas, and we do demolition. We do wrecking, and then we do select demo. We work at a lot of hospitals, a lot of schools, and stuff like that. So a big part of our business is very labor heavy. So we can run up to 400 guys between our 3 offices that we have here in the state of Texas. And we had been using Touchplan with a lot of our general contractors for pool planning. And to schedule our work, we were using a spreadsheet. And it was very cumbersome. It was very difficult. And it took a lot of work to constantly put all that stuff in the spreadsheet. And, in our world, everything moves so fast. So the jobs change and the jobs, they get sucked in where they start sooner and they get pushed to where they start later and they have multiple phases. So the spreadsheet, it was really difficult to look any farther than a week out. So you didn't know what was coming up on your jobs. You didn't know who was busy. You didn't know who wasn't busy. And when jobs pushed and pulled, it was almost a full-time job just to put all the data into the spreadsheet because stuff changes so fast and so frequently. So we started exploring a lot of options. And to be honest, we came across Touchplan. We had looked at 3 options. And Touchplan offered the best visual and ease of use, I guess. And we use it unique because we schedule foremen who have crews. So we have these swim lanes across our board, and then our stickies that I call them are the jobs. So it's all about how many jobs does each foreman have, and how many crew, how many men we're running, on a given day or a given week. And then we actually pull our plan all the way out, a year and a half or whatever, and we'll start putting those jobs down the line as they hit on a date. So not only does it show us who's busy, who's not busy, who's overloaded, who doesn't have enough work, it allows us with our sales department to say, hey, we're busy for the next 3 weeks, but you need to go sell work, for the next 2 months or whatever, because we have some gaps. So we can start using it to make a lot of strategic planning moves of, when we need work, how bad do we need work, so we can start looking ahead and planning for the future.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate that. And I remember when you and I first spoke, that's how you came to us. I think you had said like, this is just so, it seems like it's so easy and visually appealing to use. We could really use this internally. And now I think we're coming up on 2 years with you guys using this. Kyle and Ben from Quality Plus Services would love to hear a little bit around what brought you guys to Touchplan, and as the newest users on this panel today, we'd just love to hear kind of what that journey's been like for you both personally here.
Yeah, I'll talk about it a little bit. We work out in the Northwest, out in Oregon, and we had another contractor we work with, I think Apollo, had been using it and recommended the software to us. So our senior PM looked at it, liked the idea of it, did a little, meet and greet and demo, liked the idea of it, and jumped in. So Ben and I have been working to populate some larger jobs that we have, and then we have multiple other PMs using it for smaller projects with, they might have up to 20 different smaller projects going in at one time. So they're using it slightly differently in that way to try to navigate those, and that's working pretty good. For Ben and I, we have one large project that we're trying to make work with this, and it's getting better all the time. We've had a lot of help from your support staff showing us some things, and I guess I would say the one thing that we're really looking forward to is, like Chase was saying, it takes a long time to build stuff, in a spreadsheet or whatever, but that integration for kind of a form to build the tickets or the tasks would save us a ton of time. I think we have quite a few activities on this particular project, but the exports have been really nice to work with. found those very useful, and we'll be able to integrate that into some exports from a P6 from our general contractor. Has shown we've had some success with that and tying those together. But yeah, this is like, I think the first software like this we've used, and we're happy with it. We're very happy with the snapshot feature, I would say. Somebody moved a couple timelines from time to time, and the fact that we didn't lose all of our, it didn't just completely break down. We were able to jump back on there and automatically save. That was great. So there's some features that we really like. So we're happy to be on the panel, and Ben and I are kind of early adopters at our company. So we enjoy anything like this.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate that. And then Ben, from your perspective, what would you say is the biggest challenge that Touchplan is helping to solve, you know, out there on your job sites in terms of planning and just general collaboration there?
I would say that it's really helped simplify. Just the visual really helps with the foreman, so they know exactly what needs to be done. Because we have, like Kyle was talking about with P6, dates are shifting back and forth all the time. It's really easy just to go in there, change the date, and then the foreman can look at it. And then they can move the ticket around based on where the milestone is moved to. So if the milestone's moved way out, they can say, okay, let's move our crew out further, take some other things in. And it's just really nice for the guys out in the field that they can have that visualization.
Perfect. And I think what you're really getting to is what we discovered with specialty contractors is the ability to plan and manage crew size and plan and tweak on the fly. And the simple fact that you could easily manipulate the plan and say, all right, I have 5 guys here. If I move that around, we're going to take 1 guy, put it over here. That has been your experience with like just really having a good success rate with those 2 kind of job areas?
Yeah, just everything moves so quickly that it's so nice to have things just move on the fly. And if we get stuck with something, we can just reach out to Touchplan and they get back to us in about 30 seconds. So things move along very quickly.
Yeah. And what was the process before? And I guess Kyle, feel free to jump in here as well. Like, what was your workflow like? Like, was it a spreadsheet? Like, did you maybe not even plan at all? Like, what was the flow that we helped get over?
Yeah, I can speak to that. We we had 3-week and 6-week look aheads, and that's about as far as we would go. We'd do it on a spreadsheet. It'd be very general. We've had some significant growth over the last few years, and I've been charged with bringing in some technology to manage that growth. And so this was when I came to the company to help. That was the process. Multiple 6-week and 3-week look aheads. There was maybe some spreadsheet stuff if one of the PMs or general foremen felt comfortable doing that or had the skills to try to manage that. But I would say mostly it was pretty simple.
Gotcha. Perfect. And using Touchplan, have you been able to find any significant gaps in the schedule yet, or really say, hey, we were able to get into here and do work that otherwise you would not have found with that process prior?
Well, the one, yes. As far as managing manpower, we've taken the Gantt export and kind of modified to show weekly trends for manpower needs and to fill in gaps across large areas and company-wide to say, it looks like this person's short on work over here. We can pull this guy from basically job to job or from location to location. And those are the gaps that we've been able to fill. That's helped visually with your crew size, the exports, I think we do plans within projects, plans within our main project. I think that's the way it is. And so we have our PMs each have their own plan within a project. I think I'm using those terms correctly.
Yep.
Let's see, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they each have their own. And so within there, they look and we can cross-reference and have that meeting, have a manpower meetings and say, hey, I can see a spike here, I can see a spike there for you specifically, and a dip here for another person. So let's transfer manpower over to your situation in the next 6 weeks from now. That's what we're going to plan to do. So we do a weekly breakdown, and that is very helpful to have that one place to go to get that export and modify that data to suit our needs. So
Yeah, thank you. And I think a big thing that we're really stressing here at Touchplanner is the simplicity, visual nature of it, in that you could easily manipulate that manpower and crew size, right? And I think, Chase, when you and I first connected back just about 2 years ago, when we were evaluating Touchplanner, that was a big selling point for you, I believe. So what would you say, what was that challenge that you guys were facing? Because I know how you might use Touchplanner as a demolition company is, the tickets might actually be activities, and it was really hard to believe before for you guys to see that manpower and crew size all the way out. So, prior to Touchplanner, what was just like the big challenge there? And maybe you just didn't have visibility into who was working where and when.
Yeah, so one of the big challenges with just our industry is that we have jobs that are, sometimes 1 day, sometimes, 3 years. So one crew may do, 7 jobs that week. So it's really hard to put that in a spreadsheet and make sure that that crew is covered for the entire week. Being able to visually see that on the board with all the stickies representing a job and then the total of manpower there at the top helped us to kind of spread the load all the way around and make sure no one got left behind. And then also in a spreadsheet, everything's so linear. It was really hard to see, yeah, he's busy Monday, Tuesday, but they're not busy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday because it's just stacked one on top of the other. So it's helped us fit, more smaller jobs around some of our bigger jobs because we can see where the holes and the openings are. So we can kind of fit more into our schedule. And it's also helped us make sure that we get to those jobs because we do so many jobs, in a week that you can kind of get lost in the spreadsheet. Now we have the swim lanes for every foreman and they're just responsible for what's inside their swim lane. They don't have to look at an entire spreadsheet. They can just look at, that small area of screen and see the 5 or 6 stickies that they have and make a plan and, provide some service.
And if you really had to break it down, what was the biggest, I think, selling point for Touchplanner for you guys? Was it just ease of use, visual? Was it that we had crew size capacity? Was there a big one there for you guys?
So the biggest selling point, and I think we looked at 3 different softwares, and the biggest selling point was probably just the visual that it provided. All the other softwares were super high tech and had 10,000 different options of things that never really mattered to us. But being able to, we were going to use it without the swim lanes. I didn't even know it had swim lanes until we sat down and met. So that was a total just, game changer of what we thought it could do. So that visual of being able to see everything, and then the ease of use of, you get a phone call, it's like, hey, it doesn't start next week, it starts in 4 weeks. You just take it and you move it over and you kind of go on. So yeah, I think the ease of use and probably just that visual that it provides were the 2 biggest selling points for us. And I remember when you guys didn't have an undo button. So we started before you had an undo button. That was rough.
Yeah, right. And then so always improving. So big shout out to our product and development team and getting that there. Ben, to go back over to what we were talking about before and really going into that ease of visual nature of it, I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you guys are currently using Touchplanner to really tweak your plan on the fly, because I think that's a big thing Quality Plus has really adapted well to. And if you maybe just could take the audience through that a bit, just talk us through how you've been able to easily put fires out before they happen because of the visual nature of the program.
Well, maybe Kyle can help me out with this a little bit too. Basically, every week we get a new schedule that comes in, and I have with basically Touchplan, I do an export of the plan CSV, and then I have some programs and stuff that I've written to cross-reference with the new schedule. And then what I do is I basically just go in to for the crew is I just go in, find the ticket, just click, just literally click a couple buttons, and it automatically moves the milestone over to uh, the new date. So then the foreman, they can just go in, look and see what visually changed. If it's pulled past the ticket, they see a red arrow, and then they know they need to address that fire and put it out quickly. And yeah, so I mean, it's been very easy in that aspect. Just a little bit of time every Wednesday morning, just do it, and then the crew pretty much knows what needs to happen for the week.
Yeah, and that's great. And I think one thing that I heard there was that, we talk a lot about Touchplan around planning is different than scheduling, right? So getting a schedule from a general contractor prior to Touchplan, did the teams just have a very hard time seeing those issues there? Like obviously there was no thing that was popping up red and you were seeing that you were going to be behind. So was that a big challenge that the team just had prior to using Touchplan, was actually seeing what those fires were?
Yeah, I can speak to that because we did a lot on the last project. It took us about 40 man hours to 50 man hours a week. Just, we had a large project, but reviewing an export of a P6 schedule into Excel, finding what changed week to week, building some macros in Excel to do that, and then just trying to find our own predecessors and successors by using some reference tool that somebody had, worked up. And I have to be honest that I purposefully couldn't even get into that because it was so frustrating and stupid. I felt like it was just a waste of time. And so when this came along, we're developing a little bit better of a system. Like Ben said, we hit our beats weekly, but it was pretty much just going line by line. And yeah, we have it highlighted yellow if it changed from last week and what our update is this week. And oh, did a predecessor move? And well, why did that pull in? Why did that push out? We have no idea what we're even tracking to, and things would jump around constantly. With what we're doing now with Touchplans, when we transfer that activity ID into a milestone is what we're doing. So we have our end date. And what we do is Ben will go in and process that export move in the plan, our milestones, if it turns red or there's an exclamation point, because that is now ahead of our predecessors or in time, prior to our predecessors, then we have an issue. So we go through those issues in the afternoon with our general foreman and project managers and show them, hey, this is a list of what changed. So let's adjust our manpower, slide this over, see what it looks like, see if we can level this manpower out. And it's a weekly exercise, but we've got it down from 40 to 50 hours to, Ben putting in 3 hours in the morning. And then we have an hour with each of our scopes. So it's gotten down to, under 8 hours, let's say 8 man hours. So it's, Touchplan is part of that. We've updated some of our other stuff to be better at that, but that visually changing and going through after we do some back end stuff with the exports, the plan exports has been really, really helpful in seeing it, but as well as having that raw data in the back end with the data dump into a CSV. So that's what we're messing with. but it's nice to just show the general foreman, hey, now that we're looking at this, what do you guys think? Let's move this. It's like, well, this is obviously not going to work. Let's level it out. And in real time, it changes the crew size up top, right? So that's a big deal, and probably for Chase too, that, where are these spikes coming from? Where are these lulls coming from? We can really see it. Like, that's not going to work, guys. Like, we can all see that. And so let's adjust it. Let's level it out. One thing I did want to mention, we have a tremendous amount of constraints on this job, and maybe we plan on getting to that later, but we're trying to make, and maybe, it's something I wanted to get from here, what we're actively working on compared to the activities that are constrained, and those constraints change weekly. Well, not weekly, probably daily. And these are like showstopper constraints, not the variance reasons. And I like that as a two-tiered system. It's like, oh, it's just a variance, it's a schedule or a priority shift, and that's fine. And we've modified some of those. But for stuff that's truly constrained, we've got to the point where we're kind of just bringing those to the bottom of the swim lane, and our active tasks and activities are in the top half of each foreman's swim lane. Is that the solution that you've found, I guess, Chase, that has worked for you in isolating the constrained activities from the, I guess, current or active?
I don't really have constrained activities.
What?
Yeah.
what industry do you work in?
Yeah. We don't necessarily use it we have one massive job right now that we're going to use it on to schedule activities for that job. And we probably will get into that, and we'll have to kind of figure out how that works because we have, one massive job that we're going to be on for a long time that actually just started today. Today's day one of that job. But for the last 2 years, what we've been doing is we've just been using to schedule every single job. And, and basically what our sticky is it has a job name, a job number, and we put the crew size in there, and then it's a duration. So we drop it on the foreman. They say, hey, I'm going to go do job A, Monday through Friday next week. And I know that's what I need to do. And they'll get into our system and figure out what they need for job A, and away they go.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's ours a little more.
Yeah.
A little more intricacies.
Yeah. But one thing I have a question for you, listening to how you guys are doing it. Do you use this? Because I use Touchplanner also for my billing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do, I may bill 80 jobs that month, and we're all in the construction industry. So for most jobs, it's you turn your billing in on the 15th or whatever of the month.
Mm-hmm.
You have to project to the end of the month. So I really use, whenever I go through and I'm going to bill those 80 jobs that I'm going to do that month, I use Touchplanner to look back, in the month, what did I complete, and look forward in the month, what am I going to complete? I'm assuming you guys could probably do that too, if you're not already.
No, that's a good point. And we have not used it for billing. And we don't have a project manager. Our project managers usually do it. I'm the process superintendent is what we call ourselves. So that's a good point. I have not yet, but I know that as on this large job that I'm part of as well, you want to do a % complete to get the payout. Like, hey, we've put in this many hours. And I think that's a great point to use that going backwards and forwards. And what % complete are you on the job? You should be able to very easily extract that information. But we haven't as of yet. Now, I know we use in Procore to track our billing or something like that, and that's a whole nother subject of what's open and what's not. Is there an option that you just use it to track the hours on the particular projects and the project numbers, or do you do custom fields or?
Yeah, it's super simple. Sometimes the job's a day. So I just know I'll put notes in the description of, if the job's big, I'll put phase A or phase 1 or level 1 or, whatever the case may be. But a lot of our jobs are 1 day, 2 day, 3 days a week. You just understand what your job is, which ones are big and which ones aren't. So when you can say, yeah, build that one 100%, or no, build this one 25% because I can look in the plan and see that I've got 3 more phases spread out, several months down the road.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. For us, exactly the same. I mean, there's some project managers that have, I should even look at this and see how many David's got open right now, how many swim lanes. Looks like he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 jobs going on at the same time. And so he's tracking those now, percent complete. If I'm looking at what's due on the timeline on the left, I should ask him that. That's a super good point as far as tracking. Now, when you do that, do your foremen are completing the tasks and just by that and letting you know, hey, we hit this milestone in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 milestones? Are you tracking with those?
It's really simple. So no, we don't really use the milestones.
Okay.
We'll use them for special occasions, like if we're going to have a giant safety day. We have 300 guys. If we're going to train 200 of them, we'll put a milestone on that day to know that, hey, it's a big safety day. But for the most part, no, we keep up with the guys, and we know that, on the day that we schedule, hey, are you going to be done on such day? That's a day on the plan. Yeah, okay, I'm going to drop more on you.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
we'll have these other jobs. So yeah, we have our crew, we have our swim lanes for crew, but then at the very bottom, we have one called unassigned. So as the sales department wins jobs, we drop them in unassigned when they're supposed to start, and then we assign them during our scheduling meetings to foremen. And then they they'll get their crew and they'll look at the job and they'll get everything that they need and they'll move forward. So not as complicated as what you have, but pretty simple for sure.
No, that's good. And I think what I'm looking at, one of our PMs, Beth, she has 37 projects open right now, and then she has a certain amount of manpower. But like you said, some are very small duration. It looks like she maxes out at like 19 people. So she's kind of going up and down, from 10 to 8, and then unfortunately to 4, back to 8 to 10, and up to 19, and then back down. So she's got to do some leveling. But when we do our manpower meeting, we do it on Thursdays. That's the kind of thing that we try to assign. And then it looks like, yeah, they're checking stuff off as they're going. If I'm looking at it here. But yeah, I think for billing that's a really good one. What do you do when you have your projects? I guess it's kind of an open question. If you have projects that are complete or swim lanes are complete, because we have, the way we've done it, maybe done it differently, is we've got one plan. We actually have 3 plans, but the one plan is like this campus where we're working. So we have our, let's see, yeah, okay, that we've done something crazy where the header is the project and then secondary is the plan, but then we've named our plans projects for some reason. It's kind of goofy. So if we have Beth's plan, David's plan, within those plans we have swim lanes for different projects, because some foremen have multiple, not even projects, let's say jobs. So they have multiple jobs, the one foreman does. So we've broken up like that. But when you close one of those out, when you close out a swim lane, I guess, do you have it broken down where your plans are, like a GF has a plan with multiple jobs in it? Or is it just you that have like 80? I guess that's the solution I'm trying to find out. How do you break it out? And I guess Matthew, what's the vision for breaking out when you have one company, you have multiple PMs, I guess it would be is a standard breakdown, that have plans within this main project on a campus. And then each PM then spiders out to multiple, let's say GFs, and then each GF has multiple foremen. So we've broken it down where each PM has a plan, and they populate it as they need to with multiple jobs on that same plan so they can look at one place. But then as we close jobs out, if we just delete that swim lane or just add to it, you can have something that has information back from April, let's say, but it's been closed out since April. Now we're in June. Is there a way to log that back information? Would you recommend just doing an export and keeping that export as a snapshot base of that date? Like you do it once a week and just keep that snapshot and just be able to go back and look at how it used to be, or what would your, if you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think I do. And I think one thing that we're really getting into, which is good, is that Touchplanner is designed to be a sandbox that can be adaptable and easily manipulated for however best you choose to use it, right? So, one thing I was really excited about having Chase on here, which we just learned, was like he uses it very much differently, but also gets the same value out of it at the end of the day for his company than Quality Plus would. So I think a couple things is you could actually just type in on the phase plan archive. I would never suggest deleting a phase plan, and that, number one, it will actually not populate your dashboard, but also just visually say, hey, this is an archived plan, phase plan.
Okay.
Just simply typing in the words archive into the name of the plan.
Okay.
Another thing that would potentially be helpful, which is exactly what Chase does, is they use phase plans as really just a planning space to plan out all their jobs out of different offices, I believe, right? Right, Chase? Is it different offices? Yeah. So you might consider opening up a phase plan to then have the name of the actual project itself as an activity. That's exactly what Chase does. Is so, let's say they're demoing, XYZ building for 5 days. That would actually be an activity sticky note work item, the square sticky note in an actual swim lane. So there's a lot of different ways in which you could, so really Chase is using it as a way of scheduling out their different projects. And I think that could be a benefit for you guys as well, where I think right now you're really heavy into planning of the actual activities on your projects, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And I guess and it goes farther on, so it's perpetually, I mean, hopefully, and unless you run out of work or go out of business or something, each PM will add more projects, or sorry, they say, I'm looking at it, says projects, more jobs to their plan over time. So you're saying don't delete that swim lane, but if we have multiple tasks within a, it's hard to explain without showing what I'm looking at here.
And yeah, and that's all right. And we could also, I think one of the things that our customer success team is very, very good at is diving into those, as you were alluding to before. So we're more than happy to take you through that in real time as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree. I think everybody comes and finds a different solution for their particular problem, and I don't think our problems are always the same, but it's good to get, like exactly what Chase was saying, hey, if we do our billing off this, we can easily see a percentage complete based on even an export, I think, with, hey, how many tasks and man hours are been completed. And that's great, and that's something I didn't think of, so.
Yeah, and one thing I really would love to hint on is external communication. So for Kyle, Ben, Chase, kind of open question is, has Touchplanner helped you communicate to other companies and either the owner, the general contractor, other contractors that you're working around and coordinating with? Have you used the visual Touchplanner to say like, hey, we can work today because we have this big opening in Touchplanner, or we can't work today because Touchplanner is telling us this? Has it been used as a way of communicating with anyone external outside your company in a positive or negative way?
Yeah, that's exactly why we use it. And so we get a phone call, sometimes that day, hey, can you show up to the job today? And I can quickly pull up Touchplanner without having to call 55 people and say yes or no. Or I can't show up today, but I can show up, next Monday, or I can show up, on Friday. It's a 1-day job. I can do it on Friday. Or someone will call and say, hey, I need you to come do this. And then I can look at Touchplan and see who has an opening and then call that person to make sure that they can do it. So I'm not, scheduling work for somebody else, but making sure that they have the tools and the manpower necessary. Someone's not out sick that I didn't know or whatever, that they can show up and do it. And so, yeah, it's helped us cover a lot of bases, and it's helped keep a lot of things from slipping through the gaps that the spreadsheet, never really allowed you to have.
Kyle, Ben, anything on your end with that?
Yeah, we communicate. Well, our constraints are communicated. We've pulled them off Touchplan. We have that, and we've updated that those notes, and are glad that there's timestamps on those. So those are communicated weekly, and as well as our, I guess, live updates as far as, this is what we're working on. If we want to show visually, I was just showing the other day. Hey, this is the issue, and for the general contractor, this is why we can't work on that right now. Like you were saying, like, we're stacked here, and we have communicated that. You're asking us to do this. If I slide these over, you can see that the manpower spikes from 15 guys to 35 guys for a 2-day duration, then drops back down to 10 guys because of the way you have this done. And there's no arguing with that. I mean, it's just the fact, and they know enough to know that that's not even possible in such short notice. And like I said, when they come up with a new schedule every week, where Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like 40 to 50 milestones are changed. We call them milestones, but completion dates for different parts of the project have slid between 3 months and 2 days, any time frame in between. So to be able to show that and communicate that has been very helpful. And we do that with the exports, and then we can do that visually as well. But visual is mostly for our field guys, and the exports are more for tracking change, which has been really, really helpful to get things done, because they can see very quickly it's going to come down to impacts. You're impacting our ability to finish this in the time frame that you say, and we can show you why. And then having that record over time is going to carry a lot of weight towards the end of the job. So,
Yep.
So I guess what I'm hearing you say, Kyle, is that you guys are taking Touchplan and you're taking the general contractor schedule that may be 45 pages, and then you're actually handpicking your activities out, and then you're putting them on your plan. And then as they start, pushing activities out or trying to pull them in, what's on page 15 and then what's on page 35 may actually stack on each other because they moved them. And now you're saying, hey, look, I've gone through your schedule and I've put it into my system, and now I can see that you're actually stacking activities, which is a no-no, when you're hurting my manpower. Okay, that's genius. Yeah, that's really helpful for sure, especially on a large project like that, and you've got a 45-page, construction schedule. It's really hard to highlight all those things. So when you can plug them on a board like that, yeah, that would be really helpful to show, like, hey, you're hurting me. You're stacking activities on me, and we all know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would highly recommend we just grab the finish dates as it gets more complicated, and they're having a difficult time organizing themselves. We have finish dates where construction complete date, we just call them that. And so we track those, and then that's what the GC information is giving us. And then internally, what we're doing is we know what it takes to get to that finish date. We know the manpower, we know what we bid, we know what hours we have in it, we know the process of we're electrical contractors, so we know we have to, put the conduit in, we have to pull the wire, and we have to terminate, right? So we know about how long that's going to take. So we set those up as 3 separate activities and make them, predecessors to each other, and then make those activities a predecessor to the completion date. So when they move that completion date up, and then all of a sudden our manpower and activities are, like I said, after the completion date, and we slide those back, and then we say, what's most important to you? Because this is my spike. And we can have that real conversation. It's like, which one you can't have all these things done the same day. So what's most important to you? Get back to me and let me know, or we can talk about it now. And it, at first maybe there's like, oh, this and that, but when you really have it there and it's been a week to week and you're just like, you're bringing it up week to week, it really starts to sink in that they're asking you to do an impossible task. And then I think, it changes, perspective changes, I guess. We want to do the job, like you're saying, but we can't. We can't man up and man down like this. We've all been in construction long enough to know that's a very expensive proposition. So,
Yeah,
anyway,
and yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. That was all I got.
Yeah, I was just saying, when we talk to especially contractors, I think you hit on a really good point of it's now a tool for communication to just simply say that you can or can't get things done, whereas otherwise, it's very hard to see that. Or maybe you say you can get something done, you go and then you're halfway through the day and you're like, oh, we really can't get this done. And without having some type of visual tool like Touchplanner, we see that oftentimes happen. And that's why a lot of specialty contractors are starting to really look into us and understand the value that we can provide up there. Ben, anything else on your end to add to discussion before we kick it over the last 10 minutes to any audience questions or anything?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
Awesome. Great. So appreciate the back and forth. I've learned a lot actually, and great learning experience for me. I will kick it over to and invite Kelsey back in to take us through some of our audience questions that we have.
Hello again, y'all. We do have a couple of questions that were sent in, so I will dive right into those. So the first one I've got is typically how long does it take to learn Touchplan? Chase, I know you talked about the ease of use being a really big selling point. So how long did it really take you and your team to kind of get spun up?
It's actually really easy. I think Matthew taught me in like 10 minutes on a note, and then off I went, and then I taught everybody else. So it literally takes no time at all. And then the deeper you want to get into it, you just start asking questions, and you just learn one new thing at a time. But it was literally like 10 minutes for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, and we actually now have Touchplan Academy that's pretty new, so I don't know if y'all even went through that, but now that's an even more streamlined for basic users. So quick is great to hear. And then Kyle and Ben, same question. How long did it take y'all to really get spun up with Touchplan?
I think the basic users was, just a day. When we were learning how to integrate what we needed and finding out with the reports and constraint, you can dive deeper into it like anything. What I appreciate about it is it can be very simple for the foreman in the field to look around and do it, but the back end metadata, the reports, the tracking and the dates, all that information is there, and you can extract it and use that as you like, but it's completely not necessary, but it's really vital if you're, managing that set of information and getting it out. I was impressed with what was there, and it took a minute to find it, but once we got our help from, I forget the gentleman's name, Ben, but he's been extremely helpful.
Joe,
yeah. Joe's been extremely helpful in a couple meetings. Yeah, he's an all-star. So that's some of the best support that I've had from any software company is his help and showing us exactly how to do what we wanted. and giving us updates on that. And Ben and I were both surprised that it was so helpful, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Great. Well, if Joe's not on, I'll be sure we'll have to let him know. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Cool. So next question I've got, have you used Touchplan for your internal pull plan? Chase, have you done that?
That's basically all we do. Yeah, so we line jobs, and so yes, pretty much. That's exactly what we do.
Perfect. And then Kyle and Ben, I guess same question. I assume y'all have experience with this as well. I know y'all are new, but.
Yeah, no, we do. We kind of build stuff out to the right of the active line and build it out with the team and then pull it over. So we use our bid and time frame of our bid, pull that over in this particular instance, build the tickets, and then pull the tickets over with our team's help. After we build everything, we slide it, and that's basically our pull planning at that point. So
Perfect.
And so,
Go ahead,
so you guys will really, yeah, sorry, guys, just follow up to that. So Kyle, you and Ben will really actually do like a high level pull plan internally and then get granular and move it over the left-hand side, the active line there.
yeah, and we do that with the help of the GFs and the foreman. So there's buy-in, but also that, hey, does this make sense to what you're seeing out there? Does this activity make sense in this way and this stacked up, and can you get over here? And so we like to get that information. There's not really time for me to spend a ton of time in the field and also manage all this side of it as well. So I really like to get that information. So to your point, yeah, we do high level based off the bid, and then from the bid to the actual timeline, how many guys they think they want to use. If we have 20 hours allotted for this particular activity, hey, how many guys do you think you'd want on that to be efficient? If you have 20 total guys on your crew, then we can allocate these days for these activities to make sure we don't get over 20 guys on each day, and we kind of stack them based on that. And hopefully, our guys are more efficient than our bid. That's what we hope for. So there's a little fluff in there.
Perfect. Next I've got, well, this doesn't look like a question, but more just a comment. Touchplan taking something as proven as a pull plan board and making it digital and accessible by everybody who's invited to the project was genius. So not a question, but do definitely appreciate that feedback. So love that. Next question again. So how do you hold folks accountable for using Touchplan? Chase, you have experience with seeing this and maybe pinpointing people who aren't using it?
We just have a weekly meeting, and you better be at the meeting or that's some change. But no, we just have a weekly meeting, and it's revolved around the tool. I mean, that's the focal point of the meeting, and all the data that we put in it, and then we start sorting things out. And it's kind of hard. We've been doing it now for over 2 years. It's kind of hard to it's the #1 favorite on my Chrome page or whatever. So we constantly have it up. I have Touchplan and my accounting software up, full time. So
Hey Chase, who do you invite to those meetings? What is it, just down to the foreman, or?
it's the project managers, and then the general superintendent, and then we invite the foremen that we invite we'll call them a lead foreman that have other foremans under them, more of an assistant foreman or whatever, so they can go ahead and get their guys lined out. So there's about 10 people in the meeting, and we've got about 20 foremen. So yeah, it's a big meeting, but it's only ran by a few people. They're just really there to speak of what they can and what they cannot do the following week.
Yeah, that's what we've been working through as well. Just who do you invite, to hold accountable, and whose input do you need? Sounds like Chase is more of a stick guy than a carrot guy, which I respect that.
Love it. So this is a good question for Kyle and Ben, since y'all are relatively new. Did you face any kind of resistance to implementing a new technology when you were looking to bring on Touchplan?
What do you think, Ben?
No, everybody was just right on board. No, it's kind of like pulling teeth a little bit. But once they started to see the usefulness of it, they started to get more on board. There's still a couple that are holding out, but for the most part, people are getting on board right away and going, this is nice, because then there's clarity. They know what we expect, and we can see kind of what they're actually doing, and everybody works well together that way with that. It's just very clear. So
Awesome.
You know, one thing, if I could just follow up on that real quick, is that when the tasks are made or moved or modified, I guess it's a lot of data to keep track of, but and I think on the exports it's there, but like who touched the ticket last and when, kind of thing. Found sometimes you can do that in Excel with a cell or something like that, like who modified this last and when was it last done. Like I know data tracking, so I might have to talk to our help a little bit about more for holding accountable and saying like, hey, I can tell that you haven't done anything last week and we need to talk about that. Or, hey, thanks for doing a great job. It's really helpful. I mean, I can see in general, but to be able to track that data, I think you have that. I just haven't used that yet. So I think that's a tool that I'll have to dive deeper into.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Chase, kind of same question going back to it. Did you face any resistance to implementation, and how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, there was some resistance. I think it was more over when we started using it, there was only a few of us that were scheduling, 2 of us. So as far as implementing it, it wasn't that big of a deal because we were both tired of the spreadsheet. But the only resistance, I guess, was financial. It wasn't that big of a financial jump, but it was just trying to prove the worth of it. We spent a lot of time plugging every single activity we had in, several hours after work, plugging everything in, and we built the board, with all the jobs that we knew and how many phases that they had. And I think once we got the visual of like, hey, this is what it really looks like, and this is how we're going to use it, that's what really did the trick. Was this is why it's important to us, and this is what we think we can do with it. So putting all that work into actually building it out and showing everything the way that it looked, I think was the biggest selling point.
So perfect. Well, I know we're about out of time, and I think that looks like all the questions that have been sent in. Or maybe one more.
I think it might have just been a comment.
Another comment.
We had another comment, which is awesome though. And actually Chase had mentioned this too. So someone wrote in, write Touchplan meetings into, the partner scope. And then when they click that button to move the bar, it is now a contract document that they can be bound to if needed. So I believe actually someone that as a user has written in on that. And actually Chase, I think that's how you started to use Touchplan, was someone had written it in for you guys to use, right? Another contractor. Am I correct there?
Yeah. Shout out to Beck. Beck was the contractor. They're a big Touchplan implementer. And I think since then, a couple other contractors in the area have started using it. But Beck was where we saw it first, for sure.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate everyone, taking their time today to sit down with us. Chase, Ben, Kyle, thank you again for allowing our audience to learn from you, and also allowing our internal team here at Touchplan to learn from you guys. Very much do appreciate everything. Thank you guys again so much. And to the rest of our audience, please feel free to reach out to our team, talk to us at any time, and we're happy to take you through Touchplan really at any time and see how you could use it as a specialty contractor. So thank you all again. Very much appreciate the time today.
Cool. Thanks. Great to talk to you. Great to meet you, Chase.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys.